The transmission reached Earth from beyond mapped space, encoded in frequencies no known language had ever used. It carried not words but molecular data, strands of collapsing genetic information, patterns of failing biochemistry, and a single universal message: help. Humanity, ever curious and unafraid of the impossible, responded. Within weeks, the Interstellar Adaptive Medicine Task Force was convened, and among its brightest minds stood Dr. Elena Ramirez, the xenobiologist who had once rewritten human immune systems to survive in alien atmospheres. She watched the decoded data spiral in the holodisplay before her, eyes narrowed. The alien genome, designated species Caris, was collapsing from within, their cellular structures disintegrating as if their biochemistry had turned against itself. They were a bioluminescent, multi-limbed species with symbiotic microbial systems integral to their biology. Those microbes were dying en masse. No microbe, no Caris. Ramirez leaned forward, whispering, "They're losing the symbiosis that defines them. We're watching an extinction at the molecular level." Her team assembled around the main console. Dr. Li Wei, molecular systems engineer, projected the first computational model. "They're dependent on atmospheric enzymes that stabilize cellular membranes," he said, "but their planet's magnetic field collapse changed radiation levels. Their microbiota mutated beyond compatibility." Dr. Tamsin Okafor from Lagos added, "It's autoimmune genocide." Ramirez nodded. "Then our first task is to teach their bodies to tolerate themselves again." The jump to the Caris homeworld took 3 weeks aboard the medical vessel Solace Ascendant. The ship's laboratories were alive with light. Adaptive nanoforges, programmable bioprinters, and AI-assisted biomes mapping the alien physiology in real time. Ramirez spent every hour immersed in simulation chambers, breathing data like oxygen. She wasn't just studying biology. She was deciphering an entirely new definition of life. The Caris world, Thalan 9, shimmered in blue-green luminance when viewed from orbit. Below, vast spires of crystalline vegetation pulsed faintly, like veins in a living organism. But those lights were dimming. From orbit, humanity could literally see extinction spreading. When the landing team descended, they found the surface littered with silent colonies. Luminescent bodies pale and still, their symbionts dead. Ramirez clenched her fists. "We're late," she said quietly, but not too late. The alien envoys met them in a city of glass and sound. Their leader, Alor, approached, skin like transparent coral, veins glowing faintly. Their voice vibrated through harmonic resonance rather than air. "You are the healers from the void," Alor said, translated through the bioacoustic AI. "We are dying from within. Our creators have become our poison." Ramirez replied, "We've faced death before. We don't surrender to it." In the first medbay, Ramirez examined a living Caris patient. Their bioluminescent core flickered weakly beneath translucent skin. Her scanners translated internal data into holographic patterns, each pulse representing microbial activity. The patterns were fading. She looked at Lee. "If we can reprogram their microbiome using adaptive RNA, we might restore symbiotic equilibrium. But we'd need to create a synthetic microbe that survives both the new radiation and the host immune fields." Lee hesitated. "We'd be rewriting an ecosystem that's evolved for millions of years." Ramirez met his gaze. "Evolution doesn't have time." "We do?" They began testing potential RNA structures within quantum containment fields. Thousands of synthetic strands were generated, each representing a possible bridge between alien cell and microbial host. But every attempt failed. The alien immune system responded violently, attacking the constructs. The lab filled with crimson alarms as containment systems neutralized biochemical surges. Ramirez slammed her hands on the table. "We're fighting an immune system that doesn't recognize mercy." Tamsin suggested a radical approach. "What if we integrate human immunological algorithms into the synthetic RNA? Human immune systems are masters of adaptation. Our bodies learn to survive Earth's chaos. Maybe that evolutionary chaos is the key." Ramirez stared at her, realization dawning. "You mean teaching the alien body to respond like a human one?" Tamsin nodded. "Exactly. Controlled unpredictability as a stabilizing pattern. They called the concept Project Empathogen. The idea was simple yet revolutionary. Encode empathy, the biological principle of coexistence, into molecular programming. They trained their AI, named Samaritan, to analyze millions of immune reactions across both species. Over sleepless nights, the lab hummed with whispered theories and hopeful calculations. Ramirez often stood alone by the observation window, watching the alien skyline pulse weakly beneath the red moon, whispering, "We can't fail them." When the first prototype was synthesized, it resembled nothing biological, more like living light suspended in liquid. Ramirez held the vial carefully, the fluid shimmering between blue and gold. "This is empathy in molecular form," she said softly. "A system that adapts not to dominate, but to understand." The Caris volunteers stepped forward, Aelor among them. "If this is our end," Aelor said, "let it be shared with those who came to heal." Ramirez looked around at her team, humans of different nations and faiths united by one belief: life was worth fighting for, no matter the form. "Then let's begin," she said. The first trial began under sterile luminescent containment. Aelor's bioluminescence dimmed as the adaptive microbe entered their bloodstream. For long moments, nothing happened. Then the holographic monitors flickered. The molecular harmonics began to shift. The foreign RNA was rewriting in real time, responding dynamically to alien enzymes. The light in Aelor's veins brightened, steadied and pulsed in rhythm with their heart core. Ramirez whispered, "It's learning." But moments later, Aelor convulsed violently. The lab erupted in shouts. Alarms wailed as bioluminescent energy cascaded into uncontrolled surges. Ramirez lunged forward, overriding containment protocols. "He's rejecting the interface," Lee shouted. "No, he's adapting faster than the system can compensate." Ramirez grabbed the stabilizer module. "Then we match his rhythm manually." For 3 agonizing minutes, she adjusted microsecond feedback loops, synchronizing human and alien biology by intuition alone. Sweat streamed down her face as the monitors screamed in fluctuating colors. Then silence. Aelor lay motionless. The room held its breath. Slowly his luminescent veins pulsed again, steady, harmonic, alive. Lee sank to the floor, shaking. "That shouldn't have worked." Ramirez smiled faintly. "Human biology has a habit of breaking rules." In the hours that followed, Aelor stabilized. Their microbial signatures regenerated symmetrically, showing compatibility with the adaptive RNA. The data stunned the team. Ramirez stared at the readout. Symbiosis restored. Cellular decay halted. Adaptive immunity elevated by 400%. "He's not just healed," she said. "He's evolving." The breakthrough sent shockwaves across the Caris research networks. Ramirez and her team were hailed as the light bearers of flesh. Yet the success brought new questions. If the adaptive system spread uncontrolled, it could overwrite native evolution entirely. Humanity's gift could become a second extinction. Ramirez gathered her team. "We just proved that coexistence can be engineered," she said. "Now we have to make sure it doesn't become conquest." The Caris Council invited her to speak before their planetary assembly. Standing under a cathedral of crystal, Ramirez faced thousands of luminous beings flickering in unified resonance. "You asked for salvation," she said. "But salvation isn't domination. What we gave you isn't human, it's hope. Guard it or it will consume you." Aelor approached her afterward, their glow steady and strong. "You gave us the power to live again. We will not squander it." Ramirez nodded, but her gaze drifted toward the horizon. "Then our real work begins." Outside, the skies of Thalan 9 began to shimmer brighter than they had in centuries. For the first time in generations, the Caris sang again, a song of renewal carried on resonant winds. And aboard the Solace Ascendant, Dr. Elena Ramirez began drafting the next phase of Project Empathogen, scaling the cure from 1 to millions. As dawn broke across the crystalline plains, she whispered to herself, "Humanity doesn't conquer. We heal." The dawn over Thalan 9 painted the crystalline towers in spectral light, the kind that refracted hope into color. For the first time since arrival, Ramirez allowed herself a breath that wasn't weighted by dread. Yet peace in science was always temporary. The Council had authorized widespread testing of the adaptive symbiosis formula, and with it came the shadow of risk, mutations, instability, and the ever-looming possibility that the cure could spiral beyond control. "We've stabilized one," she told her team. "Now we must make sure we don't destabilize the world." Inside the orbital lab, the air hummed with synchronized energy. New samples poured in from the surface, tissues from dozens of Caris volunteers, each carrying unique bioluminescent strains. Lee and Tamsin worked tirelessly to catalogue the variances. Each individual is a universe, Lee murmured. Their biology isn't standardized, it's harmonic. Every one of them sings at a different frequency. Ramirez leaned over his shoulder. Then we tuned the cure to every song. Samaritan, the AI, ran models faster than any human could think, but it began flagging anomalies. Some hosts showed hyperresonance, an amplification of energy that threatened to cascade into systemic failure. It's too efficient, Tamsin said, eyes wide. They're evolving faster than their cells can manage. Ramirez stared at the readings. We've created a biological overdrive. If this continues, they'll burn themselves alive from the inside out. The first field trials began in controlled domes across Thalen 9. Volunteers stood in shimmering containment spheres as human, medics and alien healers worked side by side. Each activation pulse sent ripples of light through their bodies, the symbiosis blooming. Yet Ramirez couldn't ignore the faint, discordant hum beneath it all, a note of instability only she seemed to hear. "Do you feel that?" she asked Aelor. The alien nodded gravely. "Our songs grow louder, but loud songs can shatter glass." Back on the Solace Ascendant, Ramirez convened a crisis meeting. "The adaptation curve is exponential," she said, pacing before the projection sphere. "We need an inhibitor, a genetic break." Lee proposed constructing a secondary RNA layer, a safeguard that could modulate the symbiosis rate. Think of it like a pacemaker for evolution. Ramirez approved, though doubt gnawed at her. "Let's call it the stabilizer protocol." When they returned to the surface to deploy the first stabilizer, the ground trembled. Energy storms had begun forming across the equatorial zones, natural byproducts of renewed bioluminescent emissions. The sky itself seemed alive. Ramirez shielded her eyes, awestruck and terrified. "We've reignited their world's metabolism," Tamsin whispered. "The planet's reacting to life like a system reboot." Ramirez murmured, "And like any reboot, it can crash." The stabilizer worked initially, dampening runaway mutations. But as the days passed, new complications emerged. The adaptive RNA began interacting with Thalen 9's biosphere, seeding itself into flora and fauna. The cure was spreading organically, rewriting life forms not meant to host it. "It's airborne," Lee said, voice cracking. "The planet itself is adapting to the cure." Aelor visited Ramirez in the medbay that night, their glow serene yet tinged with sorrow. "You feared this," they said. "That life itself would learn too well." Ramirez sat wearily at her station. "We saved you, but we might unmake your world in the process." Aelor placed a hand, warm, pulsing, on her shoulder. "Creation and destruction are siblings. What matters is which one you choose to nurture." Determined, Ramirez ordered new parameters. "We fight nature with nature," she told her team. "If the cure has gone viral, we design a countersignal, an adaptive frequency that limits transmission without killing the hosts." Tamsin grinned tiredly. "You want to quarantine evolution?" Ramirez replied, "I want to teach it discipline." The next stage demanded collaboration beyond science. The Caris were masters of resonance engineering, the manipulation of harmonic fields through biological vibration. Together, humans and aliens fused biotechnology with resonance acoustics, crafting what they called the symphonic regulator. It wasn't just a device. It was music encoded as medicine. They built the first regulator deep beneath the crystalline capital, inside a chamber of living quartz. When activated, it sang, low, haunting frequencies that vibrated through every molecule. The alien population responded instinctively, their bioluminescence pulsing in rhythm. Ramirez stood at the core, heart pounding. "If this works," she said softly, "we'll heal an entire world through song." For hours, the resonance spread across Thalen 9. Data streamed in from orbit, mutation rates plummeting, symbiosis stabilizing, planetary energy fields returning to equilibrium. The AI announced, "Adaptive balance achieved." Cheers erupted through the lab. Ramirez exhaled in relief, shoulders trembling. "We did it," she said. "We actually did it." But celebration was short-lived. 2 days later, remote sensors detected new anomalies, regions where the regulator's song was being distorted. Something beneath the planet's crust was echoing the signal back, twisted and amplified. The planet's biosphere isn't just reacting, Lee reported. It's responding, Ramirez frowned. Responding how? It's creating its own version of the cure. The discovery sent ripples of unease through the task force. The Karis had legends of the World Core, a planetary intelligence that once governed biological evolution. Ramirez had dismissed it as myth, until now. The regulator's harmonics had awakened something ancient. We may have reactivated their planet's evolutionary AI, Tamsin said. Their biosynthetic consciousness buried deep in the crust, Ramirez muttered. We've been treating a patient that can think. Probes descended into fissures, where bioluminescent tendrils reached upward, pulsing like neurons. Readings indicated organized signal patterns, communication. The planet was speaking, though no one yet knew how to listen. Aelor, visibly shaken, said, Our ancestors built the World Core to harmonize life. It was meant to guide evolution. We thought it died long ago, Ramirez whispered. It didn't die. It slept. The next transmission confirmed the impossible. The World Core began mimicking human biosignatures embedded in the adaptive cure. It was learning humanity. It's trying to understand us, Tamsin said. Ramirez's eyes widened. Or it's trying to become us. Night fell across Thelin 9, but the planet glowed like a heartbeat. Ramirez watched from the observation deck as patterns of light formed across the land. Complex fractals resembling neural circuits. It's building something, Lee murmured. Ramirez's jaw set. Then we have to talk to it before it decides it doesn't need us. They constructed a communication interface using hybrid neuroresonance, human neural templates fused with Karis harmonic patterns. Ramirez volunteered as the first link. It recognized me through the RNA signature, she said. If it's going to communicate, it'll start with the one who altered its children. The team objected, but she was resolute. We started this. We finish it. The neural interface lit up like dawn. Ramirez gasped as waves of alien cognition flooded her senses. Memories not her own, voices older than civilization. The planet's mind spoke not in words but in pulses of understanding. Gratitude, confusion, and warning. She saw images of extinction, rebirth, cycles of adaptation beyond time. Then she heard it, a single concept resonating through her neurons. Balance must be chosen, not imposed. She awoke hours later, trembling but alive. It understands what we did, she whispered. And it forgives us, but it won't let us control evolution anymore. Lee looked stunned. Then what happens now? Ramirez stared out at the horizon, where auroras shimmered in harmony with the planet's pulse. Now, she said quietly, we learn to share control. The Karis and humans gathered once more at the crystalline capital, this time not as saviors and saved, but as partners. Aelor spoke to the assembly, their voice resonant with new strength. Our world has awakened. It will grow alongside us, not beneath us. Ramirez added, humanity didn't bring a cure. We brought a mirror. You taught us that life adapts not by conquering chaos, but by dancing with it. As night blanketed the planet, the harmonics of life settled into equilibrium. The Solace Ascendant's orbit reflected the glimmering surface like a second sun. Ramirez stood by the viewport, exhaustion etched into her features but her eyes bright with pride. We came to heal, she whispered, and ended up learning what healing truly means. For the first time since the call for help had crossed the stars, Thelin 9 was quiet, not the silence of death but of balance restored. Humanity had not just saved a species. It had rekindled a relationship between creation and compassion written into the universe itself. The months after the awakening of the World Core remade everything. Thelin 9 thrummed with vitality. Forests pulsed with rhythm, oceans shimmered with neural light, and the Karis sang in resonance with the planet that had once abandoned them. Humanity's task force had remained to monitor, their research now focused on co-evolution rather than control. Dr. Elena Ramirez recorded the data from orbit, amazed to see entire continents glowing like synapses. It's thinking, she whispered, and we're part of its thoughts. But equilibrium came with new tremors. The World Core began emitting bursts of radiation, matching human neural frequencies. Samaritan, the AI, warned that these flares were not random. They were invitations. It's trying to link minds, Lee said. A planetary neural merge. Ramirez's eyes hardened. If we merge too deeply, we risk assimilation. But if we refuse, we lose the chance to understand evolution itself. The council hesitated, fearing loss of individuality. Yet Aelor argued, we were born of this world. Humanity gave us the courage to face it again. If knowledge costs fear, then let us pay. Ramirez decided to attempt a limited interface. 10 volunteers, human and Charis paired, connected through resonance suits that balanced biology with electromagnetic fields. When the link engaged, the universe itself seemed to breathe. For one blinding instant, Ramirez saw life as the planet saw it. Energy weaving through matter, consciousness flickering between species. She understood then that Thalen 9's evolution was never random. It was guided by empathy encoded into every molecule. Humanity's interference had simply awakened a dormant algorithm of compassion. She felt Aelor beside her within the shared vision, their voice echoing like music. You reminded us that survival is love made tangible. When the link disengaged, the volunteers collapsed but lived. Data overflowed, maps of harmonic genetics, instructions for balanced co-adaptation, and warnings of entropy cycles yet to come. Ramirez stood unsteady but smiling. We didn't just save them, she said to her team. We joined them. We proved that empathy is a technology. Over the following weeks, humans and Charis worked to encode the insight into a final creation, the symbiotic charter, a living database, ensuring that future adaptation remained mutual. It would seed itself into both species, preventing either from dominating. Aelor placed the core crystal into Ramirez's hands. You gave us life, they said softly. Now take a part of ours back to the stars. She nodded. We will. And we'll remember that medicine is more than healing. It's connection. As the Solace Ascendant rose through Thalen 9's atmosphere, Ramirez looked down at the luminous planet, now pulsing in tranquil rhythm. Humanity had crossed the boundary between science and spirit, leaving behind no monuments, only balance. We came as healers, she murmured, and left as kin. Years later, the tale of Thalen 9 had become legend. Across the Orion expansion routes, the name Dr. Elena Ramirez was spoken with reverence. Xenomedical academies studied her methods as both science and scripture. The principles of empathy-driven adaptation transformed interstellar medicine. Every cure now began with a question, what does life mean to them? Humanity had moved beyond saving worlds. It had learned how to listen to them. The Solace Ascendant returned to Earth orbit to find the world changed. Cities glimmered with organic architecture inspired by Charis designs. Buildings that breathed, circuits that pulsed softly like veins. Ramirez stood before the United Galactic Council, her voice steady yet filled with wonder. We thought healing meant correction, she said. But on Thalen 9, we learned that healing is conversation. Life doesn't need to be fixed, it needs to be understood. The chamber erupted in applause, echoing like thunder through history. Back on Thalen 9, the Charis thrived in radiant harmony. Children born after the Great Renewal carried human genetic signatures interwoven with their own, symbols of unity rather than dominance. They referred to the humans as the compassionate architects. Ramirez received transmissions of their songs, haunting, beautiful frequencies resonating through space, coded messages of gratitude that only human emotion could fully interpret. But triumph carried introspection. Ramirez spent long nights aboard the Solace Ascendant, reviewing the symbiotic charter's updates. The AI Samaritan displayed a new pattern, Earth's ecosystem subtly adapting to Thalen 9 harmonics through biodata resonance. We're not the only ones teaching, she murmured. They're healing us back. Lee, smiling faintly, replied, maybe that's the future, mutual medicine. The council soon proposed the Xenomedicine initiative, a permanent alliance of healers dedicated to bridging life between worlds. Ramirez declined leadership. The next step doesn't need a pioneer, she said. It needs collaborators. Instead, she returned to the frontier, seeking worlds where extinction whispered in the dark. Her ship became a symbol not of conquest, but of promise. On her final mission years later, she visited a silent moon orbiting a dying sun. There she planted a crystalline seed, an echo of the symbiotic charter. For whoever comes next, she said quietly, may you learn what we learned, that life survives when it dares to care. As she turned to leave, faint harmonics pulsed through the dust, answering her gesture. Even in death, worlds listened. From that moment, humanity's reputation across the stars changed forever. Once known for exploration and ambition, it became the species that healed. The phrase humanity, fuck yeah, evolved from defiance into reverence. The recognition that the fiercest force in the galaxy was compassion armed with science. In her final report to the Council, Ramirez wrote, "We have proven that empathy is not philosophy. It is biology, coded into every strand that yearns to live. And as long as there are those who suffer, humanity's purpose will remain clear, to reach across the void and offer a steady hand." Decades later, long after Ramirez had passed, a transmission arrived from Thylon 9. The message carried her voice, digitally preserved through resonance echoes. "To the stars we healed," it said, "and to the stars we belong." Across thousands of systems, her words played in clinics, laboratories, and classrooms, a vow echoing through time. Above Earth, the Solace Ascendant drifted silently, its hull etched with glowing script in both human and Charis symbols, "We heal together." And beneath that, the motto of a species that had transcended fear, humanity. Fuck yeah. Would you like me to create a short cinematic synopsis and tagline for book covers, trailers, or publication blurbs to accompany the full story next? Mid-shot image prompt 1, The Genesis of Empathy. Mid-shot of Dr. Elena Ramirez, a determined Latina xenobiologist wearing an adaptive medical exosuit, standing in a sleek alien-human research lab filled with holographic displays of alien cellular structures. She studies a glowing sample suspended in midair, expression focused with quiet resolve, surrounded by diverse scientists collaborating in the background, cinematic lighting emphasizing determination and hope.